Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
The badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder, your favorite true crime momcast. I am Rachel.
And I am Heather. We're the hosts. And here on Like Mother, Like Murder, we bring you mom-related crime content weekly. From missing moms to murdered moms, moms who murder, survivors, and more.
To everyone who is returning, welcome back. We love having you guys here each and every week. And anyone who is new here, thanks for checking us out. That is our favorite thing ever.
Today, we have a very special treat for you all. As you all know, we have met some amazing friends throughout this journey, and two of those amazing people are Alecia and Sierra, two besties who started a podcast. Sound familiar? Well, these two ladies host Twisted and Uncorked, a truly twisted, dark, and spooky pod where they cover conspiracies, cults, hauntings, and unsolved cases, much, much more. If you are a regular listener, you have definitely heard Rachel and I gush over Alecia and Sierra, and back in October of 2023, you heard them tell us the Dark and Stormy case involving a wrongful conviction, a moose, and fermented forest floor fruits on a special crossover episode. What you maybe didn't know was at the time, Rachel and I also had the opportunity to head over to their podcast, and we told the dark, stormy, and truly tragic story of Crystal McDowell. And we are going to bring that episode here to the Like Mother, Like Murder feed today. Now, before we share this episode, we want to say listener discretion is advised. This episode contains instances of drug use and addiction, child abuse, self-harm, and the awful, awful murder of a beautiful mother of two who had overcome so much in life. So please take care of yourselves. Before we get started, be sure to check out Alecia and Sierra on Twisted and Uncorked, available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's dive into the case of Crystal McDowell and her murder in the midst of a literal storm, Hurricane Harvey.
Welcome to a very special episode of Twisted and Uncorked. We have the ladies from Like Mother, Like Murder on with us today.
Woo woo! Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be here.
Hello, all you twisted humans.
Yes.
We're so happy to have you guys, and we are doing a special crossover episode, a dark and spooky, stormy, creepy, all of the Halloween-y things, because it is October, guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going to be telling us a story, which we know is going to be a good one. So I will let you guys take it away.
Yes, yes. So ours is a little less Halloween. It is very dark and stormy.
Yes.
Which we wanted to stay as true as possible to, you know, our podcast with the mom content. So this is a mom crime. We are bringing a dark and stormy mom crime to you guys today.
You literally
Nice.
did the damn thing. I literally pulled that idea out of my ass. So
Well, and it's like, I loved the idea. I was ready for it. But even though we had discussed October and spooky, let me tell you, Halloween was not in the forefront of my brain. So, even though we literally discussed that.
September 1st, Halloween is like,
Yeah. Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And we're literally like thinking about it constantly. And this one I was just like, dark, stormy. How do I do this? Mom, what? First, can
Ours
we
has
cheers?
nothing to do with Halloween either, so
You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Oh, makes me feel better.
You guys want to cheers us?
Yes,
Should
we would
cheers
love to
before
cheers
I-
you.
Yeah.
Yes. I am drinking a lemon White Claw, and I also have a glass of red wine because I couldn't choose. So naturally, I'm
That's the
drinking
way to
both.
do it.
Yeah.
I love
Damn.
it.
Now I'm like, shit.
It's Friday.
Wait.
We turned 30 this week. I'm like, fuck it.
Happy belated birthday. That was like on my like list of things too. Both of you.
Oh, thank you.
That's so exciting.
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's
Yes,
fun.
yes, we are healthy girl 30. Hence why Sierra's drinking water. But
There you
I
go.
went to the gym
There you
5
go.
days this week, and it's only the
Oh.
5th day of
I'm
the
very
week,
proud
so
of
I'm
you.
like, I need this
Get
water.
it.
Okay.
I'm very proud of you.
Get it.
I'm
That's
dying.
awesome.
I went to the gym last night and then went to bed promptly at 9 o'clock. So
Welcome to 30.
yeah, I'm
Welcome
tired.
to 30.
I walked up a flight of stairs and then breathed heavy, and I said, I'm good to go. I'm going to just go sit down.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm done here.
I'm with you. And I have asthma, so I just always sound like aggressively out of shape. But yeah,
You're like,
cheers
here
to
I
you,
am.
ladies, and having
Cheers,
you
you
on the
guys.
show.
Cheers
Yes,
to
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
for
make
having
a
us.
cute boomerang out
us.
of this at some point. Yeah, it'll work.
How many times do we have to do it?
My husband just knows at this point. Whenever we have drinks, he's like, "Do you want to do a boomerang?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
You're like, I'm glad that you've
Trained
caught
him well
on.
then, because my husband will not. He just stares at me like I'm crazy.
No, they got to do it. They got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I will hold mine here, but you have to do the movement. I'm like, okay, whatever. I know, right?
Rude.
That's
I'm
all
gonna
right.
tell him. I'm gonna tell him.
We get into your husband at the end of this episode, too.
We
so
do.
just hold on.
You will
Oh.
hear about the wonderfulness that is my husband.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I'm nervous
All right,
after
let's
you said
do
mom
it.
murder and
Yeah.
Heather's husband. So
That's why we
take it
gotta
away.
put that little cliffhanger in there for you guys.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let's do it. Yes, thanks again for having us. We are so excited.
Yes.
And it's about damn time.
Right.
So, man, am I even ready to read? I'm like, shit. Like I said, we will be telling a crime today. It's where a mom's life was taken by the hands of someone she knew very well. But it's the circumstances within this case, the background of the victim, and all of the details of the murder itself, and the thought process of when and why that take us on a dark and stormy ride. Let's get
Obsessed
into it.
with this so far. Okay.
Ooh, dark and stormy, here we come. A little background on the time. This crime takes place in 2017 in Texas. We will get into some of the things that like play a factor during this time, but the main thing that's happening at this time is a hurricane that hits Hurricane Harvey in 2017. But another thing that was happening during this time was, and I didn't know about this until I started searching into this, there was apparently a gas shortage, and I don't know exactly if it was the exact like same time, but it was around this time that there was this gas shortage. And what ended up happening was everyone thought that there was going to be this shortage. So then there was the shortage. And it just reminded me of the straight up toilet paper situation that happened because everyone goes out and starts filling these gas cans and thinking, you know, I need it. And then it actually happened and became this big crisis.
That
so
literally
was
just
one
happened
thing.
here like 6 months ago. I'm like, what's wrong
On
with
gas?
this? Yeah. I'm
Gas or
like,
toilet paper?
Gas.
What?
I'm like, I don't get it.
Jesus.
We had it when the tropical storm was gonna hit SoCal for the first. Like everyone was flipping out. The gas stations, Costco was a freaking mess,
God.
like with waters and toilet paper. And I'm like, come on, you guys.
How did anyone afford gas in California, Heather? I don't even understand.
I'll tell you.
Like, how the
And
fuck?
that's why I was like,
what do they do?
They were like freaking out about like everyone was filling up their tanks, and I'm
Yeah.
like, where are you going in a hurricane?
No, yeah. We'll talk about that.
Are you
We'll talk
gonna
about where they're
drive
going
it?
in a
I don't
hurricane.
understand.
Yeah. Yep. So, like I said, that's just one of the things that was happening during that time. But the number one thing that was going on in the Baytown, Houston area of Texas was Hurricane Harvey. So, a few things that I can tell you about Hurricane Harvey. First and foremost, it was devastating, right? I mean, it was a stage 4 hurricane, which I've never been a part of any sort of hurricane. I can tell you, moving from California to Kentucky, it rains here, and I'm like inside terrified. I love looking at it. I like to look out the window and see the lightning and hear the thunder and stuff. I'm not going outside. So I couldn't imagine if thing was to get wild, I would probably lose my shit. I hear a siren, you guys, and I freak out. So like I said, it was a stage 4 hurricane, category 4. It hit August 25th of 2017. It caused 103 direct and indirect deaths. It caused about $125 billion in damage, which is second to Hurricane Katrina. These are just some of the crazy facts about the hurricane itself. But for the residents, what they experienced was that initial panic or prep time, depending on the type of person you are. And like I just very openly admitted, I'm the panic. So I was not prepping.
I'm the problem.
Not what I do.
It's me.
I am the problem. It's me. Are any of you guys the prep? Because teach me.
I like to prep, but
I like to prep too, and then my
No.
husband eats the emergency granola bars, so it's just a problem.
I'm the prep type, but I am also the type that I remember Hurricane Harvey. I was in Alabama here at the time, and my kids were outside dancing in the rain. So, like,
Oh, wow.
How crazy
I mean,
did
I'm
it
in
get
Alabama.
next to
It's
you?
not as
You're
not
like,
bad,
it's different.
but
Okay.
also I've lived in Florida. I've lived in Virginia. I don't get that
and
scared
where
by
she
hurricanes.
grew
I
up
probably
in
should.
Cincinnati has like flash storms where it just pours rain randomly. So
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, rain doesn't scare me, and it should.
Oh.
But
I live in
Yeah.
Vancouver,
No.
so
Vancouver.
yeah, but your rain is like subtle.
it's true.
My rain is like bang.
Yeah.
So
So for the people who were actually preppers, they were getting prepared for this storm. Once it hit, the winds were up to 130 miles per hour.
Oh no.
In this area. The wind was insane. The rainfall was as well. Hurricane Harvey produced an entire year of rainfall in this south central Texas area in less than a week.
Whoa.
30,000 people up and left trying to find shelter and relief from the storm. It affected everyone in that area.
Oh.
Now that we talked about the storm a little bit itself, it's about to get to the dark portion.
Bum, bum, bum.
Today we will be telling the story of it's okay, the disappearance and murder of Crystal McDowell.
Oh.
Do you guys know her?
No, I've never heard this name.
sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
I'm like, if you don't know her, you're about to.
All right.
I wish that I could have found more on like the backstory of her life, but unfortunately there's not a lot. So this is what I've got. Crystal Ann Sierra was born on October 26th, 1979 in Baytown, Texas. She had some very rough moments while she was growing up. Her mother, Pamela, was a young mother, having her when she was only 17 years old, and she struggled with drug use and drug addiction for many years. Not sure exactly when, but Pamela married a man named Anthony Walters when Crystal was younger, who also struggled with drugs. So she's in this home with just a lot going on, right? One awful thing that I heard while I was doing research, which I don't know the validity, so I'm going to say allegedly speaking here. Crystal was said to be named after crystal meth, which, if that's true, is just very sad. Trigger warning here. I know. I'm like, so when Crystal was only 13 years old, she was actually kidnapped. She was sexually assaulted and held hostage in a chicken coop.
What?
In a chicken coop.
Don't bring the chickens
She's-
into this. God.
Don't.
Real.
Just don't.
Oh my god.
She was able to get away, and there's really not a lot of detail on that, which I tried my hardest to look and find anything else, because I'm like, how is that not a story in itself?
Yeah, no kidding.
Probably because she's a
I
minor.
need to know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, I feel for her, and it only continues to get harder for Crystal. After that, her world was rocked even more. Her parents both died within 6 months of each other from drug-related deaths when she was only 14 years old.
Oh. Poor Crystal.
I
can't imagine that level of like tragedy and pain in one go.
In one go. And
especially like at so young. Like
short
so
amount
young.
of time. Yeah. It breaks my heart. So after all of this, from everything she had went through, her uncle Jeff Walters and her aunt became her guardians, and it was said that they had a really great relationship. I think that the bond that happened here, this is what changed her life and brought like positivity and helped guide Crystal into an entirely different direction. And that it did, because Crystal, as we get into it, is a badass mama. She goes on to be a go-getter on all accounts, and she was out there creating her life. So after high school, she went to school to become a flight attendant, and she did just that. She began working for Express Jet Airlines. Can you guys do that? Could you guys do that job?
No.
You guys?
I had a friend who did that.
Absolutely
not.
Is it the travel portion, or is it the flying?
I can't be that
travel.
nice to people. Like, I cannot be that nice to people like the whole entire time.
I would love to travel. I love customer service jobs, but planes, like,
scare the shit out of me.
You have a really small chance of dying by airplane. But the more you're in it, the more your chances.
It will increase.
I can't do it.
For sure. The sticks are gonna go up there. For sure.
Yeah, I'm a
I'm
nervous
not taking
flyer.
those
I gotta
chances.
like have like 3 glasses of wine and then get on the plane.
Yeah. I can't sit on a swing without getting motion sickness. So anytime I'm on a plane, I am not the person you want to sit next to.
And why are they so cramped? Like, I'm a pretty small person, and I find navigating a plane uncomfortable. So.
Yeah. She loved it. So it's definitely not a job for me, but she loved it. She was there for almost 15 years. During this time of her being a flight attendant, she met a man named Stephen McDowell, and in all accounts, she fell pretty quickly. In 2007, they ended up getting married and bought a home together, and the thought was to settle down, raise a family, and grow old together. Things were not always perfect, or even good at all at times in this relationship. Not even a year after they got married, she began to file for divorce. Why? I don't know why. I think we might get into a little bit of that later. But he probably just had some issues, and she ended up not filing, withdrawing that, and staying with him for a lot longer. Which, no, I just wish that would not have happened, and then we would not be discussing this right now.
Oh.
Yeah. So they had 2 children together. Their firstborn was their boy Madden, and their second was a little girl named Maui.
Aww.
So really cute names. Yeah.
I know. Those are cute. Stephen also had a daughter before him and Crystal had gotten together. Her name is Krista, who he had in a previous relationship. She lived with mom for the majority of the time. She did end up coming and living with Crystal and Stephen, like later on, kind of before she ended up going to college. So she was there for a little while. But Crystal, so although she loved her flight attendant job, as a mother, you could only imagine how demanding and how much being, like, you're gone way too much. Nope, not that schedule. Can't even keep up with my easy schedule. But she was the breadwinner of this family. She had kept that job. Like I said, it was almost 15 years that she was with that job. And Stephen was kind of like in and out of work. He was on and off, and he was more of the homemaker of the family, and he was the one home taking care of the kids, getting them to and from school type thing. But she ended up making the decision to leave that job and become a real estate agent, which her family had a company that this was the 3rd generation, her joining this real estate agent job. And she, again, did very well for herself. Like I said earlier, go get her, and determined to create the life that she wanted. And, you know, you see that so much in people who have gone through things, that when they're determined to turn their life around, that's exactly what they're going to do. And that's what she was doing.
My memoirs are like my favorite book.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you're so much better at life, and I cried today because I dropped my coffee in the parkade. Like,
seriously. You are me and I am you. I just need to stop crying literally everything.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's just who I am as a person, so it's fine.
Sierra cries too. She's not admitting it.
Do you?
I'm selling her out.
I cry a lot. Yeah, I cry a lot.
It's all right.
My husband hates it. He thinks that I'm broken. No. I think when he's broken, he doesn't cry enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with us. There's something wrong with them.
We are all fine. So even though there had been some super dark stuff for Crystal, it seemed like the storm was passing. Or was it? Heather is going to tell us some more.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome, my love.
Okay, so we are going to jump into it. So Rachel gave us a really good background. Now we're getting to some more Dark and Stormies. So in 2017, Crystal and Steven, they'd been married for like 10 years at this point. Like Rachel said, they had the two beautiful children who were still very young, 5 and 8 at the time. And even though on the outside everything seemed to be great, it was definitely not the case. And although they had been married 10 years, like Rachel said, Crystal had actually wanted to divorce him before, very early on in the marriage. And then again in 2017, she did file for divorce. Okay, so most people said it was amicable as a divorce can be. She even actually helped Steven buy a house to live in because she was the breadwinner. And she actually, at the time that all of this kind of goes down, she was living with him off and on because her own townhouse was being renovated. So I think it seemed amicable because of how, you know, they were figuring out how to co-parent. She was, you know, living there partially. But I think that the reason it was so amicable was because Steven had it in his head that I think they would eventually get back together. So he was kind of just letting this ride.
I think that, I think that comes a lot too with, like, when people divorce and they try to do it as gently as possible. Right. So it seems like super amicable, yet you're just, like, holding everything in and not really
hidden turmoil going on with everything involved.
So it's like, it's just until the breaking point, I guess.
Yeah. It's the calm before the storm.
Ooh.
I'm bringing it in. Do you guys see how I'm doing this? This is great. Okay.
Just corny as fuck.
I know. So then comes along early August 2017. Crystal actually starts dating another man named Paul. And Paul was what Crystal was looking for. He was pretty popular around the area, and because he owned a pretty good jewelry store business. He was successful. He was driven, and it was more in line kind of with how Crystal wanted to live her life. So she, you know, they got close pretty quickly, and it got serious after only a few weeks. And she even posted to Facebook just a few days before the hurricane and all of this went down. She even posted to Facebook about how she was the happiest she'd ever been. Okay. According to one source, he said that they were planning trips together, including a cruise that she invited him on. It was like a family cruise. And when he found out that, like, her ex-husband was also kind of like invited to go because it was a family event.
Don't do that.
he was like, probably not. It's a little awkward, don't you think? And so she uninvites Steven.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was also some talk that she was going to start cutting Steven off financially. I mean, like we said, she was the breadwinner.
It's like having an adult man-child.
Yeah,
100%.
Yes, exactly.
And that's how her family explains him. So
yes,
yeah.
And he really was like a child in the way that he really tried to manipulate her emotions and like played off of. He really did try to do all that, and it's not cool. So with that said, shit's about to get even more real. So August 25th, early morning, around 7 o'clock, she's texting her ex, Steven, because she is going to go pick up the kids, okay? But plans were kind of changing. Things were going back and forth because the hurricane was getting ready to hit Texas. Around the same time, security cameras from the boyfriend's house, they catch Crystal walking through the house, leaving his house, getting in her black Mercedes, and leaving. And then, like Rachel mentioned earlier, Houston was already in like a bunch of like basically chaos mode before the storm. People were trying to stockpile stuff, preparing for all the severe weather. All the while, Crystal was seemingly on her way to get her kids before the storm would hit. But unfortunately, Crystal wouldn't actually live to see the end of the storm. So Hurricane Harvey hits that night, the evening of August 25th. Like Rachel said, stage 4 hurricane, crazy flooding. Texas, like Houston area, was hit really, really bad. All-time record daily rainfall in the 2 days after Crystal was last heard or seen alive. So August 25th and August 26th and 27th, the 2 days after she was last seen, like crazy amounts of rainfall, crazy amounts of flooding. So Paul, and her had been texting. She was letting him know, like, the road conditions are okay. I'm on my way to go get my kids. And they had texted back and forth a few times. But then she just kind of stopped responding. And he kind of figured, like, okay, well, she is getting her kids. There's the storm coming. I'm going to let her do her thing. But he, at the same time, was like, hey, can you, kind of, like, text me back, man. I just need to know that everything's okay and that you made it. No response from Crystal. He then goes on to try to reach out to some family, some friends, to see if anyone else has heard or seen from Crystal, and no one had. And according to Steven, the ex-husband, he just basically said she never showed up. And and she was on the way to his house to pick up the kids. So Crystal's uncle Jeff, who Rachel mentioned before, was the one who kind of took her in after everything happened with her parents. He is the one that reported her missing on August 26th. He explained that it was very unlike her to just go radio silent. He said, she would text me every day to check in. And she was a mom of 2 young kids. Like that, she was... And she was involved in their lives. She was supposed to go pick them up. And like I said, when they asked Steven, like, what happened, he's like, oh, she just never showed up when she was supposed to. But yet he's not the one who reported her missing.
Yeah.
I mean, in his defense, he doesn't deserve defense whatsoever, but, like, she was just at her boyfriend's house. Do you think he would, like, be reporting her missing? Just saying.
Well, yeah. So... Yeah, so at the end of the day, she was reported missing. So now they're just kind of looking at as a missing persons case in the middle of a hurricane.
Yeah, I bet it's not the only one.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so they were doing the best that they could, but, it's like you said, it's the middle of a hurricane. The first responders, the investigators on the case, they were also, dealing with this hurricane themselves. One of the DA who was looking into this at the time and who was kind of in charge at the time, she explained that, like, some of her people had literally lost their own houses due to flooding and the storm, and they're still, doing the best they can to try to, look at what happened to Crystal as well as everything else that's going on. Okay, so fast forward to August 28th. So remember, the last time anyone's seen her is the 25th, 26th, and 27th. Crazy amounts of flooding. August 28th, Crystal's black Mercedes was spotted in a Motel 6 parking lot. And there were still literal feet of flood water, like, around her car. No. But someone was able to find the car. And when they go to investigate, after it's called in, they find that the car is actually unlocked and the keys are sitting right there on the console.
Okay, that's sinister.
Right?
That's
so investigators thought the same thing. Right? They immediately go, no, this isn't right. And they, in their head, like, it's staged. Like, they are thinking someone set this up in hopes that it would be stolen, that this car wouldn't stay here for a long time. Okay, but whoever did that didn't realize that the storm's flood waters would have gotten so high that there was no way that this car was going to be able to be driven out, even if it was a nice black Mercedes that was unlocked with the keys on the dash, right? It was impossible to get the car
out. It's really hard to steal a car that's not going to start for you.
Exactly.
Your best bet's to put it in neutral and see if it just, like, coasts down the water at that point.
Starts
use it as a boat.
Away.
Yes.
Yeah, like, seriously. So eventually, though, the investigators are able to get it towed after some of the floodwaters recede, and they send it to get processed. But it's the aftermath of a freaking natural disaster, so it's taking longer than usual to get back, information from it. So while they're waiting on all the forensic evidence from the car, they start looking into foul play, because now the fact is they found her car. They still don't know where she is. No one has still heard from her, so now they're suspecting something happened to her, maybe not related to the frickin' hurricane. So they look at 3 potential suspects. The ex-husband, obviously. You guys got to look at the ex-husband. Mm-hmm. The boyfriend, also obviously. Got to look at the boyfriend.
It's like the bingo card of murder suspects.
Right? Exactly right. So the investigators, too, they were very suspicious of the boyfriend because he had the security cameras from his home that showed the last time she was seen alive on those security cameras, but he didn't hand it over to the police first. He actually handed it over to the media first when the media was covering, hurricane coverage and the fact that she was missing during the hurricane. So they were like, suspicious. And then they also looked into the uncle. And the reason they looked into the uncle, he was the one who reported her missing, which we know, can be a tell.
This is the same uncle that raised her also?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same uncle that raised her. And they just felt he was a little too showy, a little too emotional for their liking. And they also didn't like the fact that he was potentially impeding the investigation because he went to Crystal's townhouse and started, like, looking through it, trying to, like, find stuff. And they were like, hey, that's potential evidence. You could be messing this investigation up. But they actually ended up giving Stephen and Paul polygraphs, and both of them actually failed the polygraph.
Polygraphs are stupid.
They are stupid.
No one should take them ever.
I actually was listening. It's so funny because I was listening to this other podcast that said, like, if you're innocent and they ask you to take a polygraph, don't do it because
they'll find a way to use it against you.
Exactly.
Always say
and they're
no.
like, if you're guilty, go ahead and do it because it doesn't matter.
But then they're going to think you're guilty because you don't want to take the polygraph. You're like, damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But,
it's, for sure.
I need more info. It's not great that they failed this, but.
Yes, but this is where they start looking into it. They found out that Stephen lied to investigators about several things. So he lied about his location, where he was, and because we all know our cell phones are tracking our every move, and they could tell that he was mobile at this time. He wasn't taking shelter in his house during a hurricane. He was out and about.
Not me.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm in my house, thank you.
Rachel is safe.
Yeah, safe.
Good to know.
So he also lied about Paul. He told investigators that he didn't know anything about Paul, but that wasn't true. He knew Paul. He knew about Paul. And so as they begin to investigate, they realize also there's no movement on her credit cards or her bank account. They have her car. So they're like, okay, we need to work backwards from the car. And they start looking at video footage from around the motel where they found it. And the day after Crystal had disappeared, so August 26th, in the middle of a frickin' hurricane, they see someone who resembled her ex-husband parking her car in the motel parking lot. And then about 5 hours later, they have footage which is better, like a better vantage point, and they can definitely like identify Steven driving his own car to a gas station that was across from the hotel. He's getting gas, and then he keeps looking like behind him in the direction where the car was, almost as if to check, is it still there?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Sir,
criminals are really dumb.
They are so dumb. I'm glad you said it. Like,
oh, he gets dumber. Just wait.
Gosh.
If you can believe it. He gets even dumber.
Yeah.
So they also see him shoving like a bag into the trash can, and he doesn't just drop it into the trash can. He puts it in and then like goes in a second time and like shoves it down. Yeah.
That's filthy.
Not okay. First of all, not sanitary. Second of all, yeah, like not cool. But by the time they saw the footage and they tried to go, get the trash can, everything had flooded and floated out anyway.
No.
Yeah. So, other than the video, which is circumstantial, like they're just seeing that he's around where the car was. He maintained his story, right, that Crystal just never showed up on the 25th. But the investigators, they continued to look into him, and they found out that another lie he told was the divorce wasn't all that amicable. Okay? So apparently he took it very hard when she wanted to divorce him.
Got hurt.
His ego was definitely damaged.
Yeah, broke little child, man child.
Exactly. That is a huge factor in all of this.
How am I going to get my allowance now?
Yeah.
I took the kids to school. $5.
I need lunch money.
Yeah.
Ugh. Grow up.
Yeah. Sierra said man child. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's accurate, 100%. But after she had filed for divorce, he actually, or she had to call 911 because he had actually taken the kids and pretty much threatened to kill himself and potentially harm the kids.
Oh my God.
Jesus. Yeah. Searches were held for Crystal. They were trying to search for her, especially after the flood waters receded enough. But the problem was that everything had been severely flooded. So all of the evidence, it had been washed away. They had to think about, like, if she was placed here during the storm, like, where would she be now?
Hard. Like, the most impossible time to do an investigation.
Exactly. But then there is a turning point in the case. So remember when I told you he gets dumber?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they find video footage of him in a Walmart buying a bicycle and then riding that bicycle from near where her car was at that motel back to his house in the middle of a hurricane.
But sorry, did he just leave his car then?
So he drove her car.
Okay.
To the motel.
Right. Okay.
Then went and bought a bike.
Sir.
And then rode his bike back to his house. And when he had gone back to the hotel later or to the gas station, that's when he had drove his own truck. So just like imagine.
It's like a really expensive crime all of a sudden. Like,
right?
I have to buy a bike?
Exactly what I'm saying. Like, he clearly was like, oh, yeah, how am I going to get home? A bike.
Fucking
it's not like I can Uber in the middle of a hurricane.
He's like I really got to get home faster than I was going to walk. Like, no.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
So, yeah. Not what I would call a smart criminal.
No.
So anyway, so they have this video now. So now they're like, okay, like now they're piecing things together, kind of what had happened. But again, all these videos are just circumstantial, and the clock is really ticking, and investigators are getting really worried because he still has the kids.
Oh.
At this point, the kids are still with him. And we have talked about this before, how crazy it is when one parent goes missing and like they can't immediately like exclude the other parent from being part of it. And like we have covered some cases where
I don't know if you've covered this one on your guys' show, but the one that she goes missing and
Susan Powell.
Thank you.
Powell,
You already know where my
yeah.
brain was going.
yeah, because we're all like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
I hate that
heartbreaking. I
story.
hate that story
It's
too. I can't.
heartbreaking.
It makes me cry every time. I've heard like 8 podcasts.
So don't go
cover it,
listen
and
to
I'm
us
like,
talk about it. Because
I'll
Yeah, we
probably
cover
get
it.
there. I'm listening to your episodes backwards like a psychopath. So
yeah.
Love it. That's exactly where investigators' heads were at too. Like the kids are still with him. And so he'd actually been regularly coming in. Whenever police asked him to come in for questioning, he would come in. And when they got that last piece of evidence and were kind of able to piece together how all of this went down, that's when they made their big move. They asked him to come in, and then they went to the house and they took the kids.
Good.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
they placed them with a family member. They actually placed them with her aunt, and they confronted Steve with the evidence. And then they're like, "Look, we have this evidence. You don't have your kids anymore. Like, you need to like come clean." And he basically tells them, "I'm willing to talk, but not tonight. I'll come back tomorrow." But you know what makes this even worse? They let him.
What?
They let him leave.
Sir, I'm so sorry.
What?
You're probably the person that committed a crime that resulted in this
And they
person
let
being
him
missing.
walk
But go
out.
ahead, get your affairs in order.
That's what
the
is so
fuck?
crazy to me, because we have seen so many cases where like someone got picked up on like to be questioned, and then you know there's less evidence than this guy, and they just hold them. And
Forever.
I'll freaking say it. They're usually not white dudes, so it's probably why
But like
you know
usually
this guy
whether or
was
not
able
they're
to
a
get away with
flight
it.
risk is
Yes,
weighed, and he feels
big
like
difference.
a flight risk. He's gonna take that bike and book it.
Bike.
Because now they took his kids, so he's like, "No kids, let me hop on my 2-wheeler and bounce, right? Like let's do this thing."
Oh my god!
But they do. They let him walk out, but they basically make a deal with him, and they're like, "Look, if you come clean, if you tell us what happened, you know what's going on, then we'll try to get the charges reduced or whatever." They said they would take the death penalty off the table if he confesses and he tells them like where Crystal is. He's like, "Okay, but I want to go home first to get my affairs in order." And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Fuck. But anyway, he does, and I guess it's probably for the better,
Baffling.
because when he goes home, he does call his other daughter, Krista, right, who was from the previous relationship. She's in college, and he asks her to come home. There's a 48 Hours episode on this, and they interview her, and your heart just breaks for this young woman. She is in just such a hard position, and it's rough.
Yeah,
it's
like
rough.
on the one
but
time my dad is an asshole, on the other hand, he's still my dad.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And for all intents and purposes, like growing up, he was a good father to her. Like so, and she really loved her siblings. Like she loved her younger brother and sister. She comes home, and he pretty much like explains to her, "I'm going to be picked up in the morning." Eventually he tells her like, "They made me a deal that if I tell them where the body is, I'll get a life sentence." And she's like, at first she's like, "Well, you don't know where the body is." And
Not
because
believing
she
he could do
believed
it,
she believed, because he had told her, "No, I had nothing to do with this," right? And then he confesses. And so
Fucking
she's like, her
asshole.
heart's just like, I
Yep.
know. So rough.
Your kids deserved better than this, dude.
100%. Yes. He basically like confesses to her, and she's, having to deal with that. And then they pick him up, And it is now Saturday, September 9th. So like 2 weeks pretty much after the last time Crystal was seen alive. He confesses to murdering Crystal. And the police, when they, like, there's some video of the confession, and he's crying and he's emotional. He says, like, I didn't mean to hurt her. I love her.
Still did it, bro.
You did it. Yeah. I'm like, well.
Yeah. So
there's no takebacks.
no takebacks on that, sir.
No.
He does lead them to her body. It is right near actually where he lived. And according to him and his confession, this is what happened on August 25th, right before the storm hit. He said that she did arrive at the house, and they had a confrontation because she had stayed out all night with her boyfriend. And when he confronted her about that, she was like, I don't love you anymore. So why shouldn't I be allowed to live my life, right?
Uh-huh.
Then he, trigger warning here, I'm about to explain what he did to her. He comes up from behind and he basically like squeezes her, and it basically starts almost like choke holding her from behind. And Crystal was even at one point trying to say like you're scaring me, like stop what you're doing. But he just held on until she stopped moving. And then he tied up her body and covered her with trash bags. And then he put her in her car. The next day, again, he's in the middle of a freaking hurricane. That's when he takes her car, disposes of the body, and then drops the car at the Motel 6. All the while, he is leaving his 2 young children home alone in the middle of a fucking hurricane. Yeah.
Sir.
Come on, man. So you would think open and shut case, right? They have the confession. He led them to the body. They were able to retrieve the body. But then you know what this dude does? I know. I'm sorry. It gets worse. Apparently, there is a law in Texas that if you kill somebody like in a fit of passion, he could get as little as 2 years for the crime.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm upset.
Right?
We're done. Log off.
What?
I feel like he should have got 2 years for child endangerment for just
Agree.
leaving his children for hours in the middle of a hurricane. Like, are you kidding me? 2 years? Like, this is ridiculous.
Agreed.
So he does try to use this defense. He does.
Fuck you.
Yep.
Yeah, he does.
Not you. Him.
And he...
No.
Fuck him. Yeah. And sort of fuck me for telling you all this horrible stuff. But here we go.
No.
So he does try to use this defense, though. He claims, like, it was a hug gone wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry I hugged you to death.
Yeah. So I have had some awkward hugs in my life. I think we all have. Yeah. But, like, one that stands out in my mind is my now husband. On our first date... He, at the end of the date, and so, like, we had known each other for a long time. We'd known each other for a couple years, worked together, and then he asked me out. At the end of our first date, he tries to give me a hug, and it is the most awkward, like, horrible hug that I've ever had, and thank God I didn't judge the rest of our relationship on, like, that hug, because it was so bad.
Was he in panic mode? He's like, how do I touch her?
I think he had no idea what to do with my hands. Yeah. Like, he was like, he was really bad. I mean, it was a bad hug.
But it wasn't risking your life.
It wasn't a chokehold strangling hug, right? No. Right.
Oh, that's a cute story, though.
He's pretty cute when he wants to be. He wants to be.
We're gonna.
I have several follow-up questions. I'll send you a message
about the hug. But yeah, so that's where it stands. He did try to use that defense, and then I'll let Rachel tell you what happens after.
Yeah, so after that cute and cuddly with her, we're gonna get into some more heartbreaking information.
No.
The kids. So like I said, they had the 2 children, 5 and 8 at the time. A few things, which these next couple things make me so sad. One, when the sheriffs picked up the kids, one said that the kids, like, went to all of them and hugged them super tight. Like, ran out there, hugged them super tight, almost like they were relieved, like they had been saved, which I think just goes to show the situation and the environment that they were in during that time with their dad.
Oh, it's going to make me cry.
It is awful.
Super sad. I recommend it, but also don't. Like, if you watch the 48 Hours, they interview the sheriff that was there.
Oh,
and
I feel like I need
this,
to watch this.
It's this full-fledged cowboy hat, macho man, like, and he is explaining this, and he has to, like, take a second to pause.
Stop.
And I'm goosebumps right now. Like, I was like, oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching it. I'm putting it on my list.
Do it.
Apparently, I like to torture myself.
It's sad how much torture we go through, like, doing podcasts like this, right? Because I'm like, why did I decide to do this? Second, they are home alone during a hurricane while their dad leaves to dispose of their mother's body.
Yeah, that's extra
like a natural disaster isn't scary enough, and then you add that in there. Lastly, the kids were home when the murder occurred. In the courtroom, a recording was played from the 5-year-old daughter, Maui, about when what she exactly saw on that morning, because she did see things that are obviously going to be stuck with her the rest of her life. And it was right before she was murdered. She said that they were fighting that morning and that she saw her father push Crystal onto the bed, push her mommy on the bed, and he hit her. In the recording, she says that her mommy, asked for help, and she didn't fully understand what was happening. In Maui's words, she said, "I couldn't hear her. She looked at me sadly." And my God. I hurt because that's never going away.
No.
Like, that is embedded, and I want to hug this baby.
I know.
So, and he saw her. He saw his daughter standing there. He saw Maui standing there and told her, like, go to your room. And he continued to do this,
It's like a Chris Watts situation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it comes in my head. Yeah, we've covered that one too, and that case was so freaking hard.
Ugh, all of it. Just, Like we said, during the investigation, the kids were taken from Steve, and they were staying at Crystal's aunt's house. And it was this aunt who ended up telling the kids what happened. And, oh my God, I might cry. She explains to the kids that, they had found their mom, and that she was in heaven now, and that their dad was going to jail for killing her. And the older brother, he hugs his little sister and tells her, "I love you, and I'll always take care of you." Okay. Thankfully, the community kind of rallied and set up college funds and stuff, which I'll get into. But another thing, so remember, Steve had his daughter Krista too, and she also just promised when all of this went down that she will be there. She will take care of them. That is something that is for sure going to happen. So June 12th of 2019, Steve McDowell was sentenced to 50 years in prison, and he can actually be up for parole in only 25 years because of stupid shit. Some friends and family were not pleased with this sentencing and said he deserved at least life in prison.
Absolutely.
If not the death penalty. The boyfriend at the time, Paul, he was reported saying that he believes, and many people, and this is kind of where we go back to Dark and Stormy, many people believe that this was 100% planned to be done at this time with the hurricane coming so that they could just rid of all the evidence, washed away as if nothing ever happened, and there's no way for it to be pinned back on him, which thank God that did not happen. And they did get to, you know, put the right person where he belongs, right? So, the last couple things I wanted to touch on is first about Maui and Madden. There have been like many different GoFundMes, Facebook fundraisers, community support fundraisers, and much more to start a college fund for these two precious kids whose lives were rocked in the fucking craziest way. They are living now with Crystal's best friend, actually, Mandy, in Las Vegas, which a lot of the family, like, you know, early on statements were, you know, why? Why did they go live with the friend and not family type thing? But I guess that was what Crystal's wishes were if something was to ever happen. And she was thrilled to know she would be able to have the kids and immediately said she couldn't wait to adopt them and raise them for her best friend. I hope that they are getting so much out of this life and that each day they feel loved by those who are pouring themselves into them since their mother was taken. Lastly, I freaking hope that Steven's daughter, Krista, is finding some sort of peace and solace in everything that happened. I mean, any of the kids, my heart is just broken for them. But to just know, like, how you were saying earlier, Heather, like, that's your dad, you know? And, like, for all accounts, like, things were good until they weren't. And so I truly hope that despite the events that happened, she's able to keep a relationship with Maui and Madden and that they just have each other through all of this. But that is the story. That's our dark and stormy.
That's our dark and stormy
story of the murder and disappearance of Crystal McDowell.
That's so sad.
Downer on you guys.
Amazing job, ladies. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm looking at photos of the three of them right now, and I'm like,
know.
oh my God, just rip my heart out. They're the cutest little blondie kids I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And it actually extra rips my heart out because Sierra's kids are like super blonde too, and I'm like, oh.
Really?
I'm not gonna look.
Don't look.
No,
don't do
Don't
it.
look.
It'll hurt you. It'll hurt you.
Yeah.
I picked some good photos for the episode post because it's.
There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like a super bummer or anything.
We were a bummer.
And the story needed to be told.
It deserves to be told, especially for. Thank God that there were so many positive people around that rallied for those children and like took the situation seriously.
And that he was an idiot.
Oh yeah, he's dumb.
So glad you were dumb. Thank you for that.
When I was reading how they played the recording of Maui, who at the time was like 5, maybe she had turned 6 by this time, I couldn't even breathe. My daughter is about to be 4. And so to just think about the idea that
a child that young would even witness something like that. Yeah.
How do you do that?
It kills me.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough. So
Yep.
yeah, like Rachel said, all the good vibes to all 3 of those kids. Like they
Agreed.
They deserve all
Yeah,
the good
because
vibes.
Krista didn't deserve that either.
No.
She
No.
deserved better out of her dad.
Yep.
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
but that was a good story,
There
you
it
guys.
is. There it is.
There-
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Oh, of course. So thank you so much, Heather and Rachel, for coming on the show and for doing this crossover with us. Guys, go and check out their show. You will not be disappointed. We will see you over there for our episode. And in the meantime, keep it
twisted.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.